All right. Well, welcome everyone to our member town hall today to go over the AIA Chicago's proposed bylaws amendments. So thank you for joining. We've got a great group here, and I'm happy to introduce them. So earlier this year, we formed the 2025 Bylaws Task Force, and as I mentioned, a couple of the members of this task force are on the call here, and we'll introduce some of the material. But we had AIA fellows: Andrew Mendelson, FAIA; Gracia Murray Schifrin, FAIA; Grant Euler, FAIA. We had two architect members, including myself, Jason Golub, AIA chapter president, and Katie Hart, AIA. Also, associate members Justin Banda and Jen Mason-Garb, and our affiliate member Bill Ipema, and our legal counsel from Chicago Law Partners, Kimberly Pendo, who is also joining us today. So thank you, Kimberly, for being here.
Thank you.
The information we're going to go over is located on our website. The website is going to be dropped in the chat in a second here, but it's also at the top right corner to find later. I know this is being recorded for future viewing. And the material we really want to focus on is the current bylaws, which you can find, the proposed bylaws that we've uploaded, and our summary and rationale behind the changes. Those three documents are in the middle row there. And then we also uploaded our endorsement letter that was signed by not only the Bylaws Committee, but also the Board of Directors of the chapter. And then last piece of information, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is the 2026 board slate of candidates for next year's board. We wanted to share the timeline of how this bylaws committee got formed and then where we are today and where we're going over the next couple weeks here. So going through some of our typical governance as a board, we've noticed that there were some things that we were questioning in the bylaws, some outdated material, some outdated language. So earlier in July of this year, we decided with counsel from Chicago Law Partners and Kimberly that we needed to form a group to review the bylaws holistically and go through line by line and see what needed updating. So that really happened between July and September of this year. In September through November, we met several times, 3 times, and spent over 6 hours of our time going through Chicago Law Partners' comments, edits, recommendations, and ways to rewrite and revamp the bylaws. This was also presented to the board in November and will be released and up for vote at our annual meeting coming up. So in preparation for that, we're hosting these two town halls. One is today and one is next Monday, same time. And then our annual meeting will be December 18th over the lunch hour. So really, to break it down into five kind of columns here, the proposed amendments really modernize our operations while ensuring that we're meeting updated Illinois law and Illinois statutes. They're not restructuring the chapter in any way, changing our mission or vision. They're really hitting on these five big themes. So legal compliance, as I mentioned, better alignment with what AIA National and AIA Illinois bylaws state, some modernization of the way the chapters run, the way we practice architecture, governance and policy integration. We've adopted and integrated a couple different policy models, fiscal policy, investment policy, things like that. And then updating some of the board structure, roles, and qualifications for members to become board members, for members to become part of the executive committee, and so on. So we're going to run through these 5 items, and I'm welcoming the bylaws committee to help run through this, and Kimberly as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Kimberly Pendo, legal counsel. And I will say this has been a very thoughtful process. And as Jason mentioned, we've taken a lot of time to discuss, our current governance structure and operations and what, in fact, how we are actually, in reality, governing the association. And it was really, the last time the bylaws were really, really, reviewed in depth, was many, many years ago. And, as in your professional practice, there's been many developments in corporate governance for not-for-profit organizations. And so this was really a lift and an undertaking to make sure that AIA Chicago's governance structure is in line with best practices for not-for-profit corporations today. You elect your directors and your officers to oversee the organization and make sure that we're being well run, and we're taking advantage of all the new laws that have come into effect for not-for-profit organizations in Illinois, and that we really are reflecting a well-run, well-governed organization that has incorporated those best practices today. And so, in going through the bylaws, we've streamlined them. Bylaws really should be sort of lean and mean as possible. So we don't want policy in our bylaws, because policies could change. There could be new laws that come into effect. There could be new and different ways to do business, such as Zoom. We're all on Zoom right now, right? This is a fairly new development and way for organizations to meet. And so we went through the bylaws carefully to make sure that we are in alignment with Illinois law. As a chapter, we also have to be in alignment with AIA's structure. And so we went through and made sure that all of those things were in place, that, who our members are, how they're described in our bylaws is accurate and up to date. Who is on our board of directors. We went through, a thoughtful process. One big change, that we had a lot of people on our board that didn't have voting rights, which is problematic because under the law, you have fiduciary duties to the organization and you have an obligation to vote when you're a member of a board of directors. So we made some of those changes while still including those people on the board as guests, if you will, invited to attend and participate without vote. We made sure that they don't have those legal obligations that they can't meet. And so really that's what drove all of the changes that we're proposing. We also restructured them so that they're a little easier and the flow is a little better, as a document as a whole.
Do you want to just mention also the AI Chicago Foundation work, Kimberly?
Yes. So our foundation underwent a similar process a few years ago now, where we really went through the foundation bylaws. We updated them, we modernized them, made sure that those bylaws also were in accordance with Illinois law and good governance practices. And we've made some corresponding changes here in the AIA Chicago bylaws to coordinate with that work that we already underwent at the foundation level. And now we have, two sets of bylaws, if these are passed, that are really in alignment with each other, which are, very similar in structure. So again, that we are right in sync with our foundation.
So the next section was alignment with AIA National and AIA Illinois. There are obviously multiple different bylaw documents that the state chapter has and that the national organization has as well. And a lot of the references in our existing bylaws for AIA Chicago reference things that didn't necessarily happen that way anymore or had been changed in some way or another. So one of the big changes there was updating some of the language that talks about how membership records and dues are collected. So our old Chicago bylaws had language in there that talked about our chapter collecting the dues, when really everything goes through national now, and has done so for many years. To Kimberly's point, to expand on one of her points, some of the membership responsibilities were cleared up. So Kimberly mentioned briefly the roles of invited members from AIA Illinois. So previously and currently on the board, we have what we are currently calling student directors, and these positions are one school each of the local area NAB accredited schools has a student director that sits on our board. And our updated bylaws now reflect that we've changed the position title to um, student liaisons, and the same for AIA Illinois' um, invited guests as well. So they're no longer referred to as directors, but are instead referred to as AIA Illinois liaisons. So because these are not elected positions, they are appointed positions. We've changed the language so that they don't have a fiduciary duty to our chapter anymore. And we're not imposing a fiduciary duty on them that they don't have the ability to meet as non-voting members. Um, and this will hopefully make it easier for people to participate and still have representation on the board without having that additional work that they have to do of having a duty financially to the chapter. We also removed some language in there that talked about membership in multiple chapters at one time. That's not the way that it works in national and hasn't again for many years. Some of our existing bylaws language talks about potentially having membership in multiple city chapters, like for instance, if somebody wanted to be a member of AI Chicago and AI New York City, that's not a thing that you could do. You have to pick one, and that's coming from the national level. And so we just updated our language to align with national in that way. So yeah, that covers that. Did I miss anything here, Jen? I think that was it.
Yeah, and just to underscore what and the importance of what Justin just shared, our bylaws are the law of AIA Chicago, if you will. And so the way that it works under the laws, our bylaws are sort of like a contract, a binding contract with our members and the state of Illinois and the IRS and how we're going to govern the organization. And so we have to abide by our bylaws. So anytime that there is, practices that are out of whack, if you will, with the bylaws, it's critical that we change those bylaws because we don't have a choice not to follow our bylaws. We have to follow our bylaws. So these changes that Justin just went over are really important.
Great, thanks.
So one of the big things that we sought to do here was really modernize everything, as it says here. The last time that these bylaws had been thoroughly reviewed by legal counsel was back in 1989, and obviously a lot has changed since then. And with the updates that were done in 2010, 2014, 2021, those were smaller updates. And as we were going through, we, with Kimberly's help, realized that maybe there were some things that seemed to be conflicting, and we sought to bring clarity to those things. Other examples would be some outdated gender pronouns when referring to officers, and then the ability to have virtual meetings, hybrid meeting formats, which weren't a thing that could be done back in 1989. Having electronic voting procedures and updating our quorum requirements so that they better aligned with not-for-profit organizations, and how we can see to be a more inclusive organization.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah.
That's me. So the proposed amendments will result in streamlined governance and policy integration. So as you may know, over the past several years, the board has adopted detailed policies that strengthen our operations and provide greater specificity than the bylaws can offer. For instance, a new fiscal policy was adopted in 2023 by the board. In 2024, the board adopted a new executive director succession policy, and this year, the board adopted a new investment and reserve policy. So instead of fully duplicating the content of all those policies into the text of our bylaws, the amendments will make reference to these board-approved policies, making them leaner, as Kimberly mentioned. So this approach does not reduce oversight. In fact, it makes it stronger by allowing more detailed, regularly updated guidance than the board can refine as needed. Andrew?
Thank you, Gracia. So we wanted, as was mentioned by Kimberly and a little bit by Justin, we wanted to clean up the board structure, clarify roles and qualifications. We're a very inclusive organization, AIA Chicago. It's not just architects and associate members. It's also affiliates, even emeritus. So, and we have good representation on this task force of those groups. So we wanted to keep the number of board members and allocations of each member relatively unchanged, actually unchanged. It is a pretty good sized board, but we felt it was appropriate given the size of our membership and the types of inclusive representation we would like. That being said, key leadership roles are designated for licensed architects, as we will demonstrate in the next couple of slides. And the board overall is a majority of 16 of 20 of licensed architects. So as Kimberly mentioned, there's a fiduciary duty that a board member has, whether you're in a private board or a public board or non-for-profit corporation. Of course, we're focused on Illinois General Non-for-Profit Corporation Act. And so the current bylaws are not in compliance, particularly regarding the affiliate members. And this, of course, is what we are seeking approval for, the updated bylaws at the annual meeting on December 18th. And those are going to allow affiliate and associate members to fully be engaged and support the board by serving on the executive committee, but clarifying that they may not serve as president or president-elect. Those positions, president or president-elect, for licensed architects. The executive committee is 9 people. It's the designated officers of the board. And as Justin explained, the student liaisons and AIA Illinois board liaisons are appropriately designated as invited guests without voting rights, but they are appointed by those external organizations and not elected by AIA Chicago membership. So that was part of the logic and the legal reasoning for that change to invited guests without voting rights. So part of this compliance issue with the Illinois Non-for-Profit Board Act are that, again, only architect members are eligible to serve as president, president-elect. And, you know, experience is important. So in those key leadership positions, the president-elect particularly must have first served 3 years as a director of AIA Chicago. The elected architect, associate, and affiliate board members may serve on the executive committee, one of those 9 officer positions, executive committee positions. And again, this is a tribute to the diversity and inclusion we wish to have on the AIA Chicago board by fully involving and engaging associate and affiliate board members. The nominating committee is also diverse, but specifically weighted towards architect members, again, while maintaining the spirit of inclusion with 1 associate and 1 affiliate member at minimum, broader representation to match that diversification of the board. So these changes recognize the valuable contributions of all of our member groups while preserving a leadership structure that has served our chapter well over many years. So we have a couple of charts here, and as I think Jen mentioned, this presentation will be posted on the AIA Chicago website. So be patient here for a minute. The text in red are indications of where the current bylaws are problematic and not really in compliance with the corporate responsibilities we have as a non-for-profit organization, as defined in the state of Illinois statute. Again, we needed to be concerned about the specificity of the role of the president or president-elect. We had some lack of clarity in terms of the roles and the ability to serve in particular positions for the associates and international associates. We had a conflict with Illinois state law, particularly in the affiliate membership, in terms of being able to, the bylaws enabling affiliate members to vote as a board member, even though that position was, these positions are voted by membership, AI Chicago membership, as a board position, as a board member. We had some discrepancies in the bylaws regarding the student members. And as far as the AIA Illinois board liaisons, we had some lack of clarity and discrepancies across all of these categories that are at the top. So when we look at the next slide, you can see that we are clarifying, again, starting with the role of the president and president-elect, that must be an architect member and not any of the others. However, we are enabling associates and affiliate members to be a vice president or officer role, another officer role. I believe all of our non-president-elect officers have the term vice president in the title. They already have the ability to vote as a board member, so we are clarifying that and confirming that. However, again, as Justin explained, we are not allowing the student and liaison and the AI Illinois board liaisons to have a vote as a board member. So and again, that aligns with whether those positions were elected by AI Chicago membership or not. So it's good that we're clarifying this, and we're certainly hoping that AI Chicago membership supports this initiative and this update as per the voting that will occur on December 18th. So I'll turn it over to Jason now to conclude or provide a recap.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks for talking through those really important slides. I appreciate it. Again, the outline here is modernization, ensuring legal compliance. We're not changing the structure of the chapter or our mission and vision, as I stated at the beginning of this call. It's really the legal compliance with Illinois law statutes, better alignment with what AIA National's bylaws and AIA State Illinois bylaws are saying and how they talk to each other. Modernization of the ways we work, electronic voting and virtual meetings, things like that. Streamline governance, the way we've incorporated and will continue to incorporate policy changes throughout the chapter voted on by the board. And then, as Andrew just walked through that great chart, that the board roles, the structure, and who can vote and designations within the board. And just, I think there was a sentence on one of the past slides about recognizing the true value of all of our members, not just the licensed architects. So I think that was key there. So again, just to recap, the information is available on the Board of Directors website. Up at the top right-hand corner there is the website, and honing in on those 4 documents: the current bylaws, the proposed changes, the summary that we put together, and the rationale of why, and then the letter, as I mentioned earlier, signed by the Bylaws Task Force Committee, as well as the Board of Directors, signed by all of us. And then upcoming is the 2026 board slate. So that will be voted on. The next slide here, December 18th is our online virtual annual meeting. Any AIA Chicago may register. You have to register and attend to vote, but only architects and associate members may vote. So we'll do the voting live this year during the meeting, and we'll go through the bylaws changes and amendments at that time. Similar presentation as this. We'll go over some of the membership and financial reports, and we'll do a presentation and vote on the board slate. So hopefully everybody can register and attend. We really look forward to that. And here is the proposed slate. And yeah, I think that's where we're going to end today's call. So if we have any questions, we can take them now. Can't see everyone. But if there is a question, is there a way to raise a hand or in the chat maybe?
People can also just speak up too.
Yeah,
I
please.
just got a question.
I'm not seeing anyone. Well, if nobody has a question, I guess we'll end the meeting and end the call, but I appreciate everybody attending and thank you to the Bylaws Task Force for walking us through those slides and all the information that we've gone over the past several months. Thank you, Kimberly, for joining us and presenting. And Jen, thank you for putting this all together.
Great. We'll see everyone on December 18th at noon. Please register for that separately. That link is, if you go to AI Chicago events, you can see the board, the link there to register for the annual meeting. And as we said, we need a quorum and we need you all there. So so please come to that meeting as well, and have a good rest of your day.
Great. Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Thank you, Jen.